co-host बनवा नमस्कार सर. नमस्कार प्रोफेसर केजी सुरेश सर.
नमस्कार नमस्कार नमस्कार. How are you?
आप साहब नमस्कार.
नमस्कार नमस्कार.
प्रोफेसर ऋषिपाल.
जी.
Actually, we are ready to start the session.
If you are ready, I am also ready.
Okay, Chanchal madam, you can start the session.
I, Chanchal Bhardwaj, welcome Professor Kj Suresh ji on behalf of Honorable Vice Chancellor sir and SVSU family. It is my privilege to introduce today's eminent speaker with the audience across the nation. Professor Kj Suresh is a senior journalist, socio-political commentator, and communication strategist and educationist. He is currently serving as Vice Chancellor, Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, Asia's first and India's oldest and largest media university. Earlier, he has served as Director General, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, India's premier media training institute, Senior Consulting Editor with Doordarshan News, India's public news broadcaster, Founder Dean Modern School of Modern Media, University of UPES, Dehradun, Editorial Consultant with Asian Net News Network, Chief Political Correspondent with Press Trust of India, and Group Media Advisor to Dalmia Bharat Enterprises Limited. He is a recipient of prestigious Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Award for his outstanding contribution to journalism by the Kendriya Hindi Sansthan, Ministry of Education, Government of India. He was earlier designated Commonwealth Youth Ambassador for Peace by Commonwealth Youth Program, Asia. He is also founder president of Global Media Education Council, the only Indian-driven international academic platform. As a TED speaker and Henry Stewart Talk faculty, Professor Suresh had successfully completed an experiential course in public health communication from the University of Oxford, United Kingdom. He is a member of Academia Council and Board of Studies for several universities. He has been on the jury of several prestigious awards, fellowship, including National Film Awards, UNICEF India, Ramnath Goenka Awards for Excellence in Media, Ladli Media Award, Press Council of India, MP State Awards, Election Commission of India, and PRSI National Awards. He has extensively traveled across India and world, including, especially mentioning here, Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Japan, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Australia, South Africa are amongst the others. Today, it's our privilege, and I would like to request Professor Kj Suresh ji to share his expertise and experience on administration and governance in higher education institutes. Welcome, Professor Kj Suresh ji.
Thank you, Dr. Chanchal Bhardwaj, Professor Rishipal Anand. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Greetings from Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, Asia's first media university, and the beautiful lake city of Bhopal. I hope that, I see almost about 70 participants from across the country. And I've heard a lot about the Skills University. In fact, I've had the opportunity to interact with Professor Raj Nehru also, and it's doing a commendable job. In fact, in one of the lectures, when he spoke about the work being done at the Skills University, I was really amazed. You have been doing a wonderful job, and this FDP, I believe, is an important step in that direction of bringing about academic excellence. Now, friends, I have been given this the topic that has been allotted to me is is about leadership and governance in academic institutes. I've had the opportunity to head an institute as Director General of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication and a university. And I would like to, based on that, I would like to share some thoughts here. I'm sure many of you are much more aware of these things, but FDPs actually help us to refresh our knowledge, which is already within us. It just triggers, I would say, the ideas which have been lying dormant. And I believe that a lot of the participants, many of the participants are already in leadership positions, including as heads of department, as deans. So leadership is not just about being vice chancellor or being director general or director. It's also the dean, the heads of department. They are all into academic leadership. So that's the first thing that we need to understand. Secondly, I believe that most of you are certainly at one point of time going to head some or the other institutions. There are some basic rules of leadership that I believe that you are already aware of. And from my experiences, I would like to share a few thoughts. Let me begin with two of the new challenges that are, that have come before us in 2022. Two of the biggest challenges. One is the rapid technological change, massive change. One could not have imagined. I still remember classrooms where I've prohibited, you all remember, we have prohibited usage of mobile phones. We considered it to be a disturbance, and online teaching was taboo, at least in our country. There were a couple of, the MOOCs courses which were going on, SWAYAM platform which was there. But by and large, it was more of a fad, a feather in the cap for the university, where I would say, oh, I also have this course, we also teach online, we have these courses, but they were not generally accepted. We believed in the traditional brick and mortar structure of a university. And whereas in the West, there have been a lot of innovation and creativity which has been happening. I'm sure that many of you have gone through Coursera courses. You know that they have been not just Coursera. Just giving you an example, they have been engaged in faculty development, in academic excellence, in skill upgradation, in upscaling, for the last couple of decades, with the advent of technology in a big way. In fact, there have been even, for example, I'm an HS faculty, that's a Henry Stewart talks faculty. Now these talks are hugely, circulated across the world. So now these have been in the, online platform for pretty long now. So in the West, things have been there, but as I said, back home, we have worked in a face-to-face mode, in an offline mode, and we felt that is comfortable. A student ought to be in the classroom, and that's the concept which we have always believed in. But then, I don't know whether I should use the word thanks, but yes, courtesy, COVID, the biggest change that has happened is that education has become a lifelong 24/7 into 365 process. Education is no more, confined to classroom, no more confined to your learning at a young age, no more confined to your being physically present. Now, we were literally, all of us were literally pushed into it. You remember that joke, good old joke of, somebody diving into a pool of crocodiles, and everybody, he comes out of that and everybody applauds him. Oh, you are so brave, you have, you jumped into a pool of crocodiles. And he says that, no, 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 just tell me who is that guy who pushed me into this. So that is the kind of approach. We were all pushed into a pool of crocodiles where we just did not know how it is. I mean, the Zoom classes, the Google classes, the all, we tried to bring in students. There were issues of digital divide, there were issues of accessibility, there were issues of connectivity, which deprived many of our students across the country of of the teaching experience. There were bandwidth problems. There were most of the students coming from poorer and lower middle class families did not have access to even gadgets. A family would share one phone they had, smartphone they had, with their kids. Now, from the time when we used to tell kids to go out of the room if they were carrying a mobile phone, to a scenario where we had, we were asking them to, use the mobile phone, has been a big U-turn. But in terms of technology, it was taking us leaps and bounds beyond the position that we were stationed in. So a radical changes have taken place. And in the past couple of years, you would see the kind of growth that edutech or education technology has witnessed is massive. The LMS, the learning management systems, and the various options that are today available across the platforms is something mind-boggling, I would say. That so now synchronous, asynchronous, I mean, in every possible way. And I salute the teachers. I mean, they would say COVID warriors. COVID warriors are the security personnel, the doctors, the paramedical personnel. But I would say the teachers were no less COVID warriors. I mean, they were, in fact, in many remote corners of the country, teachers would actually go door to door to teach, from locality to locality, to villages to go and teach, because the students were unable to come, the schools were closed. It has certainly led to a lot of, in fact, only last week, Fortis Healthcare had organized a webinar along with the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation, and I was one of the speakers there. And we were discussing, how not going to school had impacted the kids like never before. Yes, at that time we had very little option before us. We had our examination schedules, we had our course schedules, our semester schedules to complete. We completed them by hook or crook. But the fact remains that, particularly in courses like my area is mass communication. So there were students who actually missed out, and that impacted their placements also. So the technological challenges have been, on the one hand, they have been very positive in the sense that they have made learning a lifelong process. They have made learning not confined to the school hours. You can learn even beyond your college hours, your late into the night. I mean, all these materials are available. But on the other hand, the academic discipline, discipline that was the hallmark of academic life, was in shatters. And you had work from home, and of course, blended teaching methods. So you had plus and minus points. The teachers rose up to the occasion, but many lost their jobs. Many in the private sector had to go for huge salary cuts. I know that, I know of my students who are teachers in private universities who have faced the brunt, so much so that they had to shift even their children's admission from, good schools to, very ordinary government schools, because they had no options, because fee was a big issue for them to pay. So this was a very terrible time also, but at the same time, the technology, the avenues opened up. The second big challenge in recent times to academic leadership. So the first challenge, as I said, was to strike that balance, between, the importance of disseminating knowledge to as many teachers as possible, as many students as possible, to upscale the skill of the teachers, and to ensure that the students don't lose out when it comes to their time schedules, their examinations, their degrees, their certification. So that was a big challenge. The second for me was the national education policy. After 34 long years, after a huge, several years of discussions at various levels, finally comes the national education policy, which has changed the roadmap for, academic excellence. It has brought in revolutionary changes. And for a change, this is a policy which has been accepted across the spectrum. The only question people ask is that whether it is feasible, it is practical. Now, I can say with some measure of confidence that it is practical, for the simple reason that my university was among the first universities in the country to roll out 7 new programs under the national education policy. We have already rolled out the 4-year UG programs, wherein after first year, we give students a certificate. After 2 years, we give them a diploma. After 3 years, we give them a degree. And after 4 years, we give them, an honors or a research degree. Now, this was a huge challenge. We, except that 64-page document, we had nothing before us, no reference material before us. And some UGC circulars, some Association of Indian Universities circulars, and some guidance from members of the National Drafting Committee. But then it was a challenge which our faculty members, our heads of department, our leadership accepted. We decided to set new benchmark by being the first university to roll it out. And we are glad we got a huge response from the students, and all our seats were full, before the deadline. So now the implementation is the bigger challenge. I'll come to this, but I wanted to set the context to say that these are the 2 big challenges before the, academic leadership. One was post-COVID now that classes are becoming offline. Even today, I received in the morning, I was going through my mails, representations from parents, from students saying that, can you still continue with the online classes, because we have suspended all online classes. We have asked them to be present in the university. So they have started, sending applications that we may be allowed to continue. Parents are still reluctant to send their children to, our hostels. We have faced huge losses, because we run our hostels out of, rented premises. We have faced a lot of challenges. Students were unable to pay, many students, because we largely cater to middle and lower middle class students. They were unable to pay their fees. There were challenges. But let me assure you, that this year we crossed, so it's a challenge and it's an opportunity. It depends on how you look at it. We broke our 30-year record, and for the first time this year we registered over 1 lakh admissions. Now, this coming at this time was something at a time when colleges have been complaining of lack of admissions. This is something that really changed. We were able to bring about that change. Now, why I am mentioning all this is that to say that on the one hand there are challenges and on the other there are opportunities, and we need to leverage the opportunities and meet the challenges. Okay, now coming to the academic leadership part, the first and most important thing, I mean, even in the national education policy, as you know, is the institution development plan. uh, I can tell you one thing. uh, Unfortunately, and I'm sure that most of you have seen it, and particularly in the government universities also, that the vision changes with the leadership, which I believe is unfortunate. Every nation, every government, every institution should have a long-term vision and a short-term plan. Both are essential. Short-term plans to meet the immediate challenges. Now, for example, when the second wave or the third wave came, we needed a plan in place. That was an emergency situation. So we were among the first universities without any instructions from UGC or anybody else. We set up the COVID task force, and this COVID task force was, aimed not just at looking at education. We ensured that we take care of our stakeholders, particularly our teachers, our employees, and our students, and to provide all possible help: financial, social, hospitalization, medical counseling, psychological counseling, and all these were provided under the COVID task force. And on the other, the second challenge was to continue the teaching. So we started something called an integrated classroom. An integrated classroom, like the integrated newsroom in media, is something wherein we, on the online mode, we have 4 campuses. So we brought all the 4 campuses together, on the same platform, to ensure that the same level of teaching is disseminated to all the students. Now, these are short-term plans, and another is a long-term vision that you need. So an institutional development plan is all about having a vision. Now, unfortunately, what happens is that with every change of any director or vice chancellor, the old projects are, sometimes even the running projects are dumped. And then the leader comes with a new idea. Suppose an institution decides to go for a deemed to be university status and has already worked in that direction. A lot of investment has been made, not just financial, but human resources, infrastructural. And then suddenly another head comes and says that, no, we don't want deemed to be university. Let us become an institution of excellence. So the entire thing takes a U-turn and goes to another direction altogether. This has happened. I've seen it happening, So what is important is that we need to have, this is because we are only looking at individual visions, vision of the vice chancellor, vision of the director, vision of the head of the institution. Whereas what is required is a collective vision of the university. Where are we going and where do we see ourselves after 10 years, after 20 years? What is our goal? How do we see ourselves as a university, as an institution? What is going to be our growth trajectory? What is going to be our focus area? So that long-term plan, that vision, what is our mission? Why are we here? Why am I different? I have seen many domain-specific universities turning into general universities. yes, you need to earn more revenue. You need to go become multidisciplinary. I understand all that. But you were created for a core discipline. You cannot compromise on that core discipline. That's your area. All right. Now, I was the dean of, the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies at Dehradun. And our domain area is petroleum engineering. Now, we also have one of the largest law schools. We also had one of the largest management schools in Uttarakhand. And, we had a design school. I set up the Modern School of Modern Media. Now, we had all these schools, but our core area remained engineering. Now, that's the core area. For example, my own university, current university. Now, we are known as the National University of Journalism and Mass Communication. Now, that's my domain area. I am a multidisciplinary university. I have management programs, AICT. I have, computer education, computer sciences and applications department, which is one of the, oldest. And we were the first in the country to introduce the Bachelor of Computer Applications, BCA, in the country. We spread computer education across Madhya Pradesh, through our study centers. Yet, we have excelled in computer education like, no one has in our state, or at least in central India. But our core area, our domain area remained journalism and mass communication, where we run maximum number of departments. Now that what is my uniqueness? How am I different from others? Otherwise, all universities have similar kind of departments, similar kind of courses. But how are we different? What is our objective? Now this mission, vision, plan, this has to be a collective vision. And this collective vision comes when the leader or the vice chancellor, director general sits together with the deans, the heads of department. We do a lot of brainstorming with the academic council, with the boards of studies, with the management council, and we come up with a vision that this is where we intend to be in the next 10 years. This is our objective. This is our vision. This is our mission. Now, the most important thing, I believe, is, as I mentioned, a vision. Now, next to vision, from my personal experience also, I believe, is collective leadership, democratic leadership, decentralized leadership. Because the more you tend to concentrate all powers. Among the first instructions that I gave in our university, it was a fashion. If anybody comes with a problem, the departmental heads would say that, no, VC Saab has all the powers, So VC Saab can take a decision on this. I started actually reprimanding them. I said that let there be standard operating procedures in place, SOPs. You cannot have all the discretionary powers with the vice chancellor. As an institution, is a particular thing permitted or not permitted? I can give you a small example. For example, in our PhD regulations, it is said that when the document, the final thesis is submitted, it should be on both sides, typed on both sides, right? Now, this is a very, very simple thing. But, when they went to the controller examinations, one of the persons who had some influence, he started telling the, sir, अब मैंने तो single page में one side में type करवा दिया है, so आप इसको please approve करवा दीजिए. Now, he could have said that, no, this is not done. This is not the way it should be. If it is on both sides, you have to give it on both sides. It cannot be on single side, single sheet. You cannot. But you know what his response was? He said that आप वीसी साहब के पास चले जाओ, अगर वो करवा सकते हैं, उन्होंने अप्रूवल दे दिया तो हो जाएगा. So now what do? Do I exercise it as the great Maharaja who can, take any decision? Or do I go by certain standard operating procedures? So the SOPs have to be in place. I'm sorry to say that as academic leaders, we don't even read the act wherein we were established. We don't even read the act. What are our rules and regulations? How many of us as faculty members have read our own acts wherein we were established as a state university or as a central university? How many of us are aware of our powers and responsibilities? Or is it all as per conventions which have been followed over the years? पहले भी ऐसे ही होता था, इसलिए वो हो रहा है. Is there something in black and white? Is there something which has been passed by the academic council? Is there something which has been passed by the, apex decision-making body of the university? Or is it a discretionary thing? Now, too much discretion leads to a lot of, I would say, disharmony. Discretion leads to disharmony. Because then it is, you show me the face, I'll show you the rule. So if I like, I would say that, okay, Professor Rishipal Anand is a good friend. So I will draft the rules accordingly. I'll show him the rule. No, I have a problem with, madam. So I think that, she doesn't agree with all that I say. So let us stop her promotion. Let's not confirm her probation. Now that is because there are so ad hocism is in full play. And believe me, most of the universities are deep into litigation. You have faculty members who are appealing against the institution in central administrative tribunals, in high courts. They're all filing applications against why my probation has not been confirmed, why I am being denied increments. I have found in many cases, come to think of it, 7th pay commission was being denied. And they had no explanation why it was being denied. I said, how can you deny that? Increments, something as basic as increments were being denied, saying that there is a matter, an inquiry is pending against that person. I said that stopping increment is a punishment. So when he has not been punished, he has not been found guilty so far, let the inquiry commission submit its report and let them come to a conclusion. Then you can stop it. But till then, you cannot stop it. Now, these are some basic things. But we are not aware, or we are not aware, we are not, we are ignorant, or we are turning a blind eye. Now, I can understand every head, every academic leader needs a working team. He needs a team who can, who can deliver, and not everybody delivers. In fact, yesterday I was telling a lot of my faculty members that, हमको घोड़े और गधे का फर्क पता होना चाहिए. घोड़ा कभी कभी लात मारता है, लेकिन वो घोड़ा है. Everybody should know that the person who is working, who is excelling, should not be treated like somebody who is not at all interested in working. Otherwise, you are depriving him of motivation. You are telling him that you and the other fellow who doesn't work are equal. There is no incentive. There is no motivation. So somebody who has taken it for granted, well, I've got a government job, who cares? I'll spend a couple of hours here. Rest of the time, I'll do my politics. I'll do my other this thing. I mean, this is very common, particularly in state universities. In private, they make you, because I've seen both ends, private and government. They make you work like hell. But in government sector, you have some people who take things for granted, who say that, well, what can be done? I mean, well, I'm like this. Of course, you have to try to motivate them also, because in many cases, at least that has been my experience, that people do not work because they have not been trusted. They have not been given opportunities. It's important that we give them trust. We trust them and we give them opportunities to work. We give them a platform. I have seen people who have been sidelined because a perception has been created about them. Oh, he's useless, or she's useless. They have been working in the institution for over 2 decades. They have never given any important responsibility because they have been tagged. The same people, when I gave them opportunities, when I gave them, an opportunity to prove themselves, believe me, they really turned out to be excellent workers. So let's not go by stereotypes. Let's not go by perceptions as academic leaders. I mean, we tend to, when you land in any institution, you are given a briefing. So-and-so is good, so-and-so is not good, so-and-so is into politics, so-and-so is into this. So you get a lot of briefing. Now this, as a leader, you have to keep a clean slate. Decide on your own experience rather than going by perceptions. It may be simple politics. It may be conspiracy. It may be somebody doesn't like somebody's nose. It could be as simple as that. For that, somebody should not be, because you are handed over perceptions. I've been witness in whichever institution I have worked in leadership positions. The moment I join and, sign my papers, they come and tell me, so that guy, useless or useless. Kisi kaam ka nahi hai. And they will give you a lot of information. Sabka dossier hai. Everybody has. But you need to have your own assessment of people in academic leadership. Only that can take you towards excellence. You need to understand what is the problem. Why somebody is underperforming. We need to understand that. So, one is democratization, collective leadership, delegation of powers. If you are dean, then you need to delegate powers to your heads of department. If you are HOD, then you need to have subcommittees under you which will look after each and every, course in your department. You need to have, not just course directors under you. Give them power, give them autonomy. Functional autonomy is the key to academic excellence. Give them an idea. Look, you need to work on this. Now, don't indulge in backseat driving. That's what often we do. We ask somebody to drive the vehicle, but then we sit behind and start telling that person, look, turn right, go straight, turn left, stop. Now that person is just not unable to concentrate on the road ahead, because that person doesn't know where he's supposed to go. He doesn't know, what does the boss want from me? Where do I go? He has absolutely no idea. He is being asked to turn left, turn right, take a U-turn. He or she doesn't have clarity. Where am I going? So backseat driving is a big no in academic leadership. I'm going to tell you, look, this is your destination. I am sitting behind you, like Mahatma Gandhi behind Munna Bhai. When you commit a mistake, and I will be invisible. I will not be visible all the time. I will be invisible. When you are deviating from the path, I'll poke you. No, this is not the path. Retract. Take a deviation. Go back on your original route. That's what I need to say. That's what the Google map does. When you deviate from the path that the Google map is showing you, then it says that go 500 meters ahead and take a U-turn. Come back to the road. Now you need to have that clarity given to each and every faculty member. Should know, what am I supposed to do? Everybody cannot do everything. How do you delegate? The delegation has to be based on a scientific measurement. It cannot be unscientific. There's an important project. She was my student, so I'm giving it to her. Oh, he was my PhD scholar, so I'm giving this responsibility to him. It doesn't work like that. Can that person deliver the desired results? That's the question. If that person can deliver the desired results, then that person is the person to be given that responsibility. Not because somebody is my student or somebody is my PhD scholar. Now, if that becomes the criteria, then results start coming. Otherwise, you keep complaining. A good workman doesn't quarrel with his tools. Particularly in the government sector, we are always short of funds, short of resources. So do we keep cribbing, complaining that no, there are no funds? I'll beat my chest. Will the funds come? No. You are dependent on government. Now, my university is a little different. We are totally self-funded. But I'm talking about generally about state universities. Now, where my entire, how do I manage with the resources? Optimum utilization of resources is the role of the leader. If there is a computer lab, how do I ensure that instead of having 1 or 2 computers in every department, why don't I put all the computers in one place and ensure that, all the students in different departments get their turn and they can utilize that facility. And moreover, when there are no classes, I can give it on rent for national NTA examinations also, for IIT, for, NEET. And that will give me resources also. So instead of having 2 computers for students in every department, if I have 10 departments, let me put it together and have a central computer facility, which can be, these are just ideas. I'm just sharing examples. Now, what that ensures is optimum utilization of resources. I see institutions with very few funding, very little. They're spending hugely on a lot of infrastructure, which is not required. It should be spent where it is required. So there has to be an assessment of our requirements, an assessment of, what is urgently required, what we don't need right now, and what we don't need at all. I was the head of Doordarshan News. I was senior consulting editor there. And as head of Doordarshan News, I found in my storage, in my godown, a lot of high-tech advanced cameras which were lying unused. A lot of cameras which were just lying like that. Old cameras also were dumped, of no use. Because when I found, I was told that people are not trained to use that advance. So you spend crores of rupees without training people to use that, including live view and all that. The second thing I did after becoming the Director General at IIMC, where we had shortage of funds, we needed cameras for our different campuses. So I was reminded that when I was in Doordarshan and IIMC, both are part of the Indian Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. So I wrote a letter in my capacity as the DG of IMC to the director of Doordarshan, saying that, look, these cameras are lying dumped of no use to you. Please give it for the benefit of my students. So the cameras which were junked, they were shifted to IIMC because we are the same ministry. Now, this is a big issue. Some departments have a lot of resources and some are really poor, undernourished, malnourished children. Now, in the same family, when a sibling is a weaker sibling, that sibling needs to be nurtured more, given all possible support. This attitude is important. Now, again, generating financial resources is a big challenge for academic leaders. Increasingly, funds are getting decreased. Government has its own limitations. Can we afford just self-finance modes? How many students can afford self-financing courses? What about the majority of the students? We need so many important equipments, infrastructural development. How do we go about it? And that is where resource generation is a big challenge for academic leadership. How do I generate more funds without being solely dependent on governments? Because governments are setting up more universities, their responsibility is increasing by the day, their social welfare responsibilities, they are into infrastructure, huge roads, highways, railways. How do they manage? For example, the entire burden of vaccinating a nation of 138 crores was taken totally free by this government. No, that doesn't come free. So obviously the funds which we could have got has now been diverted into another area. So how do I generate funds? That is a big challenge before academic institution. Can I run self-financing courses? Can I ensure that, for example, at our new campus in Bhopal, we have created a world-class auditorium. So of course, it's almost 1,000-seater, auditorium that we have created. And it has been equipped with state-of-the-art facilities. Obviously, we will be having a dozen events in a whole year. In 365 days, we will be having 12 events, including a convocation, including annual day, and some important, events. What do I do with that auditorium for rest of the 350 days? I need to give it on rent so that I generate resources for my university for the maintenance of that auditorium. So everything has to be detailed, every plan. How do I maximum utilize the facilities? How do I generate more income? How do I develop MOOCs courses which can generate income for me? Today, the NEP requires a lot of general elective programs. Can I encourage my faculty to develop MOOCs modules? There are so many opportunities today, from CEC to ICSSR to, they who are all supporting all kinds of academic innovation and creativity. Can I encourage my faculty to take part in them? Today is the age of cooperation and collaboration, not competition. How do I collaborate as an academic leader with like-minded institutions? If I don't have a course, I get into a collaboration with another institution which can offer me expertise, specialization in that particular arena. This is the big challenge. I'll give you an example again. Now, general electives, the new education, the national education policy is all about interdisciplinarity. And when we are talking about interdisciplinarity, it is important that I do not offer them courses which are just related to my courses. The whole idea of interdisciplinarity in the national education policy is to give holistic education to the students. And when we are talking about giving holistic education, it means a student of medicine also learns music. So, in my city, there is a university by the name Rajiv Gandhi Technological University. Now we are entering into a collaboration with them by offering environmental sciences as a general elective to my students who are studying mass communication, and by offering mobile journalism as a general elective to students of engineering. Now, how do I get into fruitful collaboration? Is a big challenge for academic leadership, which will bring in the desired results for me. MOUs are not just photo ops. I get into an MOU with somebody, next day it is in all the papers. Vishwakarma Skills University and Makhanlal University enter into MOU. But after 5 years, we have forgotten that, everything. MOU lies in some corner. Nobody knows it. It was a photo opportunity. Next day in papers. How many functional MOUs are there? After I joined, after a couple of MOUs, I decided not to sign any more MOUs. I called a meeting and I said, give me a report on the fate of all the previous MOUs. Not a single mail has been exchanged with each other among the different institutions after that MOU. Nothing has happened on the ground. I said that give me a report and start working, appoint a nodal officer from my end, appoint a nodal officer, request them to appoint a nodal officer and start working. Give me a joint seminar, a joint webinar, a joint project. Only after that I will move for another MOU. Otherwise, no. I think that public relation is good, but only PR should not be there. There should be substance. Without substance, if you do PR, I know of a university which is every day in newspapers. But that entire university doesn't have a single faculty member, regular. All are on deputation or on contract. What? Work on the basics. Be rooted. I think our priorities should be clear as an academic leaders. What is our first priority? What is my foremost priority? If the priorities are clear, then that becomes the focus area. What should be my first focus on? Let me not divert my attention, my resources, my time in something which is futile, which doesn't help my students. How do I ensure the excellence of the faculty? Today, globally, if there are institutions which are doing exceedingly well, and if Indian universities are not doing well in global rankings, is it because Indian teachers are bad? Or there's some problem with our curriculum? Absolutely no. If that was the case, we would not have had some of the CEOs of the top Fortune 500 companies who are people of Indian origin. Whether it is the Twitter CEO, the Google CEO, the Microsoft, you name it, or the Chanel. This has happened because our students are good and our teachers are good. But our focus has not been good. And why did these students shift to Western countries for either advanced studies or for research? That's because we don't provide them the ambience, the environment for academic growth, for growth as an individual, for growth as a researcher. We are essentially teaching learning institutions. We are not research institutions. So we need to encourage research. We should insist on quality. Research doesn't mean making payment and getting your article published in some paper here and there. Your faculty should aspire for international citations, patents. And that is where the motivation and the encouragement, the incentivization has to be. Please remember that if the national education policy has to succeed, at the center of the national education policy is the teacher. No vice chancellor, no director general can act as the catalyst. It is only the teacher and the teacher and the teacher alone who can. Can we empower our teachers? That's the biggest challenge for the leader, for the academic leadership. If you have an under-motivated teacher who is being punished for working hard, who is not being rewarded, who is not getting his due, but rather somebody who is a lackey, who is a bootlicker, who is a chamcha, he or she is being promoted at the cost of a sincere, hardworking academician, then the institution certainly has no future. Apologies, there was a call from the university. So, how do I promote excellence? How do I encourage the students to reach the pinnacle? If there are potential students who have the potential to be, how do I ensure that such students are encouraged? Are the rules going to be barriers or facilitators? Rules, my experience has been, are flexible. It depends on the academic leader to interpret the rules for the benefit of the institution, for the larger interests of the institution. That is the big challenge before us. Internationalization. Am I confining my institution within the confines? Okay, I am based out of Western UP, so I'll cater only to Western UP. We are talking about multiculturalism, diversity, pluralism. Can I have to begin with students from Northeast, students from South in North Indian universities, and students from North in South Indian universities, students from East, West, Northeast? Can I bring about that cosmopolitan culture into my university so that my students grow up, are groomed in a multicultural environment, because they have to work in that multicultural environment, because increasingly industry, academia, wherever you go, you find multicultural environments. Can I make my institution a multicultural entity? Can I develop that? Can I make the work culture more efficient? Now, very soon in my university, we are going to adopt the student charter. I'm sure it is there in many of your universities. So we will need to have, that's what, the importance of transparency. That if a student has applied for a certificate, he should know when he will get it. And if he doesn't get it, somebody is taken to task for it. An application is made. Do we have a student charter in place? What about employee welfare? May not be, the government is not extending all facilities. But can we be innovative? Can we be creative? In my universities, like many universities, we didn't have, government health facilities for our employees. So what we did, particularly during the COVID times, we entered into agreements. We entered into agreements with private hospitals. We promised them bulk, and they gave us CGHS concessions. So what would have otherwise taken 600 rupees a consultation fee, today costs 135 rupees. Now, because OPD facilities or outpatient departments are the need of every family, you may have a life insurance or a Mediclaim policy, but it is the day-to-day expenses which are huge. You may have a pain, you may have fever, you may have cold, you may have, all kinds of problems. We just entered into an agreement. They were looking at the bulk. Oh, so many hundreds of patients we had. and we got concession for our employees. How do I look at that? How do I make sure that employee welfare, because a satisfied employee means an efficient employee. If he is satisfied, he doesn't have to battle day-to-day problems. So we have to look at this. One of the innovations, these are just by, I mean, these examples are only for illustration, not to tell what I have done. We used to give a loan, an interest-free loan to parents of girls, I mean, employees who have for their marriage. So this used to be about, a couple of lakhs, low interest loans, if I may say. So I said that extend it to parents of boys as well. So my leadership team was, no, girls, so it's a different case. Why boys? I said that if you don't go give it to boys' parents, then they will take it from girls' parents. So give it to boys' parents also. So that is in a way we are promoting, that not just equality, but also ensuring that girls' families are not disturbed for finances by the boys' families. We are supporting boys' families also equally. Now, this is the kind of, support that we should provide to, depending on the requirements of the, So how do we support our employees? How do we support our students? How do we support our faculty, ensure their growth? How do we incentivize somebody who is, publishing a lot of research papers, at the same time ensuring there is no classes are missed, and ensuring, that they are attending courses, upgrading, upskilling themselves? Do we treat them at par with a teacher who hardly attends any program, hardly writes any research paper? Do we treat them equally? No. So, friends, I think I am crossing my limits. This is a subject which is very close to my heart. I can speak for hours. I can beat Krishna Menon's record at the United Nations. I don't want to do that. So thank you, Sri Vishwakarma Skills University, Professor Rishipal Chanchalji, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure interacting with faculty development, faculty members from across the country. I am available on all social media handles, from Twitter to Insta to YouTube. And, a lot of content related to media, mass communication, teaching, education are there. You can always join and, of course, stay connected. Thank you once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I would like to request the participants, if they have any queries, they can raise their hands so the IT team can unmute them accordingly. Sir, in meantime, I would like to read a query shared by one of our participants, that how to, find the ways to decentralization of authorities at the departmental level and university level.
You see, there are no set rules for that. It depends on how do you read the existing rules. I'll give you an example. In our IQAC, there used to be only professors. I don't know, some professors had vested interests. When the IQAC was brought before me, the list of IQAC, I said that, why all are professors? They said that it has been the tradition. ऐसे ही होता रहा है, sir. I said कि IQAC का rule लेके आओ, UGC के norms लेके आओ. And it very clearly mentioned that you should have representation of associate professor and assistant professor also in the IQAC. I said कि डालो इसमें नाम. Now, most of the people don't read the regulations. So it's important that you read the regulations. Our faculty also don't read the UGC regulations, the AICTE regulations. If you read half of the problem, how many of you have read the 64-page National Education Policy document. I mean, you all have some ideas, flexibility, interdisciplinarity, this, that. But how many of you have read word by word? We don't read. Once we read, many things will become easier. Second, of course, it depends on the intention. इसको हम हिंदी में कहते हैं नियत. Niyat of the leader. Does he want to democratize and decentralize and delegate, or does he want to concentrate all the powers in himself? So it would depend. That is where I think that culture of decentralization has to come. It has to come from the top. You know, otherwise you have small dictators all around. You know.
Sir, you have actually nailed it. It's a matter of knowledge of the whole picture and intentions, no doubt in that, sir. And I think that I must say one thing, that you have been one of the very bold administration academician I have listened. So as a part of process, sir, as there are no queries and nobody has raised hand, so मन तो नहीं कर रहा है कि आप इतनी जल्दी विदा लें और हम आपको और सुने, बट
आगे भी बुलाते रहें, आते रहेंगे.
जी जी जी. I would like to thank you again for an eye-opening and learning and rich sharing on real challenges at macro and micro level in administration and governance both. And the way you have emphasized beautifully on the cohesive approach, decentralization, delegation of decision making, and various mechanisms as a solution to meet that challenges also. So it was a holistic, you can say, a sharing on challenges as well as mechanism to cope up with those challenges. I'm really, sir, I think everybody has enjoyed that, how beautifully you've explained the importance of avoiding negative energies, practices like adochism, procrastination, preconceived thoughts, and perceptions for the complete and holistic development of higher education ecosystem. And I'm sure our participant must have felt enlightened and recalled the importance of basics of work culture. You have stressed so beautifully on the basics of work culture, and some of our participants have also conveyed the message in chat box that it has been an excellent experience with you today. Now I would like to invite Professor Rishipalji, who's Dean of Pedagogy, Faculty of Pedagogy and Capacity Building, as well as convener of this one-week national workshop, to say a formal, pay a vote of thanks to the today's eminent speaker. Professor
Thank you.
Rishi.
Thank you, Chanchal Madam. Thank you very much. And sir, special thanks to you. Really, it was eye-opening and enlightening kind of session, and definitely the session will help us to achieve the objective of, and basically the objective is to train and groom the forthcoming generation of academia, so that we can bring better leadership, better administration, and better governance among. And you have touched all the gray, red, and all areas, and resultantly, if we will not open it like a surgery now, then correction is not possible. And if correction is not possible, then how leadership will function? So even I am enlightened. I am very happy to listen to you. And this is not for the first time for me. I am regularly associated with the CPDHE Delhi, and there also, and from there itself, I have taken you. So it is my heartfelt thanks to you for sparing the time. And yes, of course, sir, this association will continue and it will go along. So thank you very much for sparing the time.
Look forward. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
ना कर नहीं रखा, कर ले बेटा, गर्मी लग रही है तो कर लो ना फिर उसको. नहीं उसका टेम्परेचर कम कर दो बस.